Jesus was a Muslim, and I'm going to prove it to you in this video. Now, I know it might sound shocking, but bear with me for a moment and let's clear up a few misconceptions first. I mean, aside Christians, Muslims are the only people that actually recognize Jesus, or Isa as they call them, as the Messiah.
If you look at all of that material, Matthew, Mark, Luke, Q, M, and L, okay? All of that together, Jesus never calls himself God.
As Muslims, we believe that he was born from the Virgin Mary. And here, in the Quran, there's an entire chapter called after her. We believe that Jesus actually was one of the mightiest and the best prophets of God. However, there are still fundamental differences between the Islamic and the Christian beliefs about Jesus. Now let's take a closer look into this and find the answers to one of the most discussed topics throughout history. And to be honest, in the past couple of weeks, I've done a lot of research on this topic. I've looked into the Islamic beliefs, the Christian beliefs, I've talked to Muslims, I've talked to educated Christians, and there's a lot that we can find about the life of Jesus. But throughout this video, I'm gonna make my conclusion and find my answers based on three things. First, the identity of Jesus, then the message of Jesus, and then his practices. So let's start off with the first one, Jesus, his identity. The Islamic viewpoint is that Muslims believe that Jesus, or Isa as we call them, was a prophet of God. He was not God himself. Just like Abraham, Moses, Adam, and all other prophets, Jesus was sent to his nation to spread the message of God. And now on the other hand, Christians, they believe that Jesus is both the Son of God and God himself, part of what they call the Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And now when you open up the Quran and take a closer look into it, it is clearly written over there. For example, in chapter Surah Ma'idah, verse 75, where it says, the Messiah, son of Mary, who was no more than a messenger, just like other messengers have passed away before him, and his mother was a woman of truth. But then when you look into the Bible, it becomes a little bit more unclear. There's no clear statement nowhere to be found where Jesus claims to be God. In fact, if we take a closer look into it, you even find the opposite. For example, in Matthew, verse 11, it says, the crowds answered, this is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth and Galilee. Or in John, verse 14, where it says, after the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, surely this is the prophet who is to come into this world. And I mean, this is just the surface level, but here it already starts to be a little bit confusing. And it doesn't stop over there. Even if you look more into historical documents, books that have been written by scholars, people of knowledge throughout history that have analyzed his life in detail, both by Muslims, Christians, but also historians in general, there's nowhere to be found where Jesus says actually that he is God. And he himself in his time was a Jew actually. He was a Jew that